G'day everyone, welcome back to another live hangout here at Voice Essentials. I hope you're all having a great end of your weekend. Here in Australia, obviously it's Monday. Yeah, I've been looking forward to hanging out with you all. And just so I don't forget, did you realise? And it's always Linda that brings these things to my attention. It is World Traffic Light Day today. How random is that? Linda, where did you find this out? Linda sends me an email every Monday morning, and it's always got some random, the World Day of something in it. And today, it turns out, is Traffic Lights Day. Why do we need a World Traffic Light Day? I don't know. I guess, you know, the modern world would be more chaotic without them, I guess. There you go. Next week, I'm just going to tell you what we're doing next week before we get into today's show. Hey, check out the question I've got in the chat. We'll talk about that in a second. Next week, we got Tracey Osmond on the show. I really want you to come along for next week's show because I think it's going to be so encouraging to listen to Tracey's story. She's a singing teacher, runs a very successful, very large singing school up in Townsville, which is about 1,500 kilometres north of where I am. 2 days drive. And anyway, I've known Tracey for many years. She's got the most amazing story vocally, and I want you to be here to hear it, to be encouraged by it. We're going to be learning a lot about things like vocal health and the importance of technique, and we'll talk more about that next week. So I'm looking forward to having Tracey on. Today we're doing a Q&A, and I've already got the Q&A question up. Oh, well, one question. It's not, well, it is a Q&A. Because I'll give my answer to this question. I've asked you in the chat if you could sing a duet. Let me read it exactly. If you could sing a duet with any artist, living or dead, who would it be? And I put that question up there and then immediately went, oh, I probably should do the right thing and give you my answer, which I will a little bit later in the show. But then I immediately went, actually, that's a really hard question. Who would I? Yeah. Anyway, so you throw up your answers. I've seen some answers already coming up. And it's funny because Linda's already declared that she would do a duet with Elton John. And I promised Linda, when I threw the question up and blah, blah, and I thought, I reckon Linda would do one with Elton John. That's what I thought, Linda. I don't know why. I just did. And I can see Mackenzie Kate. Mackenzie Kate, it's good to have you in the live chat. I can see Mackenzie. I'm not surprised, Mackenzie, that you went for a Glee leaning there. Not surprised at all. Mr. Formiati, Johnny Cash, really? I will give you a hint. Not that this is a right or a wrong thing, but I'll give you a hint as I would not go male for my duet partner. I would go female, but I can appreciate, Mr. Formiati, why Johnny Cash might be someone who you want to have a bit of a sing with. So that's cool. I am very pleased to announce that we have the on-screen comments feature back today. Fingers crossed it stays back. Fingers crossed it stays with us. And I will just let you know, I don't think this is going to be a problem, but earlier, about 20 minutes ago, when I was sort of getting the show ready, my webcam that I use, in fact, all of my webcams just suddenly dropped out. And I was like, oh, that's a bit weird. So I rebooted everything. I think it's fine. I think it was just one of those random things. But if suddenly I disappear, then I think I don't think it will be a problem. I really don't. I'm not expecting it to, but I'm just letting you know, just in case it does randomly drop out. Jenny has just said Dolly Parton. That would be cool. Or Jenny said Karen Carpenter. Rebecca, Rebecca Martin, what do you, I've just said Adam Gaming is asking me to look at Morissette Aim on Asia Song 2017. Already done. But Adam, you are going to have to wait for that reaction video until late December, because I've just uploaded it. Literally just uploaded. It is the longest reaction video I've ever done. It's like 30 minutes, but it won't go live until late December. That's how far ahead I have to be in my scheduling to keep things rolling along, Adam. So stay tuned, stay subscribed, and it's coming. So many of my subscribers kept asking for it. I thought, oh, okay, we better dive into this. So stay tuned. It's coming. Rebecca, I'm looking for... Oh, yes, no worries, Adam. And I'm just looking for what Rebecca has said she would... You've just said, Rebecca, that it's a tough question. I'm looking for your answer. We haven't got an answer from you yet, Rebecca Martin. So I expect to see an answer before the end of the show. I know it's hard. I've come up with an answer for me, but I'll walk you through how I got to the answer later on, and I encourage you to think. This is kind of giving you some insight into how I've answered the question. You know, who could, if you could sing a duet with anyone, who would it be, living or dead? I encourage you to think beyond the celebrity. I think the natural response is to go, oh, I'd like to sing with such and such because they're very famous and I think they're very cool. Think beyond that to who do you think would most complement your voice? Remember this, you would be standing next to them as an equal in our imaginary world here. And I want you to think about what would you be looking for in that person's voice that is going to complement yours so that the duet has this lovely sonic value. Think further than celebrity. You know, it may well be a celebrity, but think past just the fame aspect. Think about the nature, the tone, the resonance of that other person's voice in combination with your own. I think that would be a good thing to do. We've got some questions coming in already, so I'm going to get to them, and we're going to get to them immediately. Let's kick off the show, the Q&A, in the right way. Okay, here we go. I don't know, did I let that actually finish playing? I don't know. Vava, isn't it good to have the comments back on screen? It is. I think it is anyway. Vava, hi Dr. Dan, I have another question. Singers like MJ or Rihanna have very recognizable voices. Is this, I think it is. Is this because of their natural voice sound or something like singing habits? It's probably a combination of all of the above. Everyone has a vocal signature. It's why we can use voice to unlock our phones, for example. In some respects, our voice is an even more complex signature than our fingerprint. And you know, you know, despite the fact that some people can mimic other people's voices. But I think when it comes to ones like Rihanna, ones like Michael Jackson, the sounds that we identify in their voice is not just the resonance, the audial nature of that voice, it's also in the smallest of nuances in the way they shape words, phrases, where they, as a singer, choose to apply things like vibrato. At what point do they naturally bring those in? I make a comment in a video that will go live in a few months about the fact that when we are doing riffs and runs, everyone has a very almost their own natural riff and run vocal leaning, if you will. Like our voice is naturally, hey, that sort of stuff. And my voice is happy to do that. But if I was to then try and copy a Michael Jackson or a Rihanna riff, I might find that a bit more challenging, which in part speaks to the improvisationary nature of riffing and running, but that improvisation often comes out of what that particular voice is. What is its natural bent physically and acoustically. And so all of these things add up to giving us a very particular kind of audible picture, if you will, of these particular singers. And what I encourage you to do, Vava, is reflect that information back on yourself. What is it about you that you can further enhance about your vocal signature? How do you naturally find yourself wanting to shape phrases? What are your onsets and your offsets? These are the reasons why we go into all of this stuff in the Voice Essentials program, because these are so important in forming your vocal signature. Not to be like someone else, but for you to identify what is it in your voice that makes you stand out, that makes you recognizable. So important. Let's go across to, I've got another question here. Okay. I went to Vava's second question. Linda's brought that to my attention. Vava, I'm sorry I answered your second question. Vava's got 3 questions in there. We're going to go to Mackenzie Kate first, because Mackenzie will have a question here, and Mackenzie's got this question for us. My question for the Q&A, is it normal to have frequent cases of acute laryngitis? I just had laryngitis again last week. Frequent cases would be something, Mackenzie, that I'd be encouraging you to explore further. I would want to identify why. What is the root cause of that? Is it purely that you have a compromised immune system and therefore you are more susceptible? Could it be, for example, currently you will be coming out, like you're right in the middle of your summer right now, Mackenzie, so I went to say, could it be things like allergies? But at this time of year, it's less likely, I would have thought. Could it be that you have reflux, that you're not quite on top? I'm not telling you that what you do or don't have, Mackenzie. I'm just giving you ideas to think about. Reflux can leave you vulnerable to some wear and tear of the voice and some infection. And we also have to identify, is the laryngitis, when we talk about laryngitis, it tends to be a catch-all term, like an umbrella term that we simply give to loss of voice. But in fact, laryngitis can be functionally driven because, of poor voice use. But it can also be bacterial or viral. infection that leads to that laryngitis. So you probably need to first identify what of those two it is. And then you might want to explore with a healthcare professional. You know, is it allergy driven? Is it reflux? Is it viral? Is it bacterial? Look into these areas and explore what is causing, what is driving that, because I would probably come back and say it is not normal to have frequent cases of acute laryngitis. That should not be your experience. And so, yeah, explore that. Go looking for the answers to that. I'm going to go further back because apparently there was a question from Vava which was even further back, and I think this is it. Vava, you've got lots of questions. I hope you're doing well, Dr. Dan. I am. My question is, how many voice effects exist? Oh, I think it's probably countless. You know, like vibrato, vocal fry, etc. I'm really curious about it. Thank you very much for reading my question. You're welcome, Vava. How do we put a number on vocal effects? I guess we can group them, but everyone's going to have a slightly different expression of that particular vocal effect. So we are going to have things like vibrato. Vibrato can be used as a vocal effect. Equally, it can be just a phonatory pattern, which I guess is a vocal effect, but it could equally sit within the tonal aspect of a voice. We could have breathiness. We could have, hard tone on, pressed tone. We can have vocal fry. We can get into all of the distorted values. There's so many, I've never been caused to write them down and count them, but there are lots out there. So it's a matter of you exploring them and exploring them safely. It always comes back. We say it here all the time. Is it healthy? Is it sustainable? Is it efficient? And there are no right or wrongs in contemporary singing. But we do want to tick those other boxes, healthy, sustainable, efficient, particularly for those of us who are wanting to use our voice for performance, public performance, on a regular basis. Can be a real challenge. I'm going to come up here. I've seen Rebecca's question, which is this one. I think I need to turn that one off, and then I've got to come up here and press this. This is Rebecca's question. Getting ready for my church summer concert. Any advice on being nervous? The advice, Rebecca, that I would give you is, firstly, that's normal. That sense of excitement that often has its fair share of apprehension that we then often interpret as nervousness is normal. Pretty much everyone will have that heightened excitement of nerves associated with a new performance experience. And I've found over the years that I can find myself, I play in my local church, Rebecca, as you know, every Sunday. Well, not every Sunday. I played yesterday and led, and I don't really have any nerves associated with that any longer. It's a very normal environment. The congregation know me, I know them. We have a lot of fun together, and I'm very comfortable in that space. if I was then, let's just say, if I was then invited to lead a ecumenical service of multiple churches, and I even just changing either the auditorium, like doing it in a different space, or doing it in front of a different group of people, I would expect my nerves to rise, my anticipation and excitement to rise, because the situation is now different. And so in your case of going to this summer concert, it may, that's a different experience. So expect those nerves. And part of the benefit of expecting them is that when they do hit you, and they will build the closer you get to the moment of performance, they don't take you by surprise, because okay, nerves, yep, I was expecting you, welcome. And acknowledge them, see them as a friend that is going to empower and enhance your delivery, your performance, not something that is going to detract. Now, I say that recognizing that performance anxiety, which is what we're talking about here, can be completely derailing for some singers, some performers. And there are many, very, very well famous singers over the years who have told their story about their struggle with performance anxiety. It was funny. The other day, I've been watching the Olympics, right? And the Australians, have you noticed how well the Aussies do in the pool? If you've been watching any of the Olympics, you will have seen the Aussies do very well in the pool. And one of our swimmers, in fact, we had two swimmers going for a particular race. They ended up getting gold and silver, Molly O'Callaghan and Ariana Titmus. Both amazing swimmers. And there was vision of Molly getting ready, so taking her sweatshirt off and her tracksuit pants and getting ready, and she was visibly shaking. The performance anxiety for this lady, who has been to the Olympics before, but because of the heightened moment, you could see her. She was visibly shaking. But she was able to, and this is the skill, she was able to harness that energy, focus it, and she ended up getting gold. She ended up winning that particular race. And that's what we want to be able to do. Performance anxiety is normal, but we want to be able to harness it and focus its attention into the delivery of our performance. But if you struggle with that, then it can be really a good thing to speak with a performance psychologist. Often they're referred to as sports psychologists, because it's mostly sports people that will seek them out and do work with them. And they can do a lot of work with you in helping you to achieve better outcomes in and around performance, and not allowing that performance anxiety to derail your performance. And Rebecca, just to the point, try to go through, hopefully you've got a really well-developed preparation process for your everyday, work, singing at church. Hopefully you have a warm-up that you do every day, every performance. You have a practice mode that you have. Try to keep that in play. Don't change anything. These heightened moments, we don't want to change too much. We want to keep it as the same, so that you get to go just through that normal process that you would have. And that again helps to just keep any performance anxiety in check. I hope that's helpful to you, Rebecca, as you prepare. Mackenzie's got another question. A second question, Mackenzie. Come on, we need some other questions, people. We'll come to after Mackenzie's question. I'm going to come to telling you how I've answered the question. If you could sing a duet with any artist, living or dead, who would it be? Incidentally, if you haven't answered it yet, throw your comments into the chat there. Mackenzie's second question is, can neck problems affect my voice? Absolutely. I hurt my neck on a roller coaster. Oh, Mackenzie. And that's what induced this case of laryngitis. Okay. Right. Well, that gives us a little bit more information to go with, doesn't it? It's possible. I want to avoid saying it's likely because, again, it's Mackenzie, as you know, having been with us here at Voice Essentials for a long time, my job is to not diagnose anything about your voice. We leave that to the healthcare professionals around the health of your voice. But it is probable that, yes, that impact or whatever you've done on that roller coaster has caused some muscle damage, some bruising in the muscle, which is then possibly led to some compensatory behaviors around your spoken function, possibly more than anything else. And, if that roller coaster has in any way caused any level of trauma, directly to the area of the larynx, then that's definitely something you'd want to get checked out. And equally, I would ask you, Mackenzie, were you using your voice, as in, i.e., screaming on said roller coaster, which can be the response of some people, because that, in team with any neck injury, could speak to some of the challenges that you're experiencing with laryngitis. There's two different healthcare professionals you might like to consider seeing. My first port of call in this particular instance is likely to be what we refer to here in Australia as a physiotherapist. I think in the US they're referred to as physical therapists. I'd be encouraged you to go and see a physiotherapist who specializes in, typically they refer to themselves as specializing in neck, head, and jaw. They'll be the three areas that, you not just your generalist physio, but your specialist in that area. Go and see them, see what they say in the immediate response, and they might then refer you on or cause you to take another step with another healthcare professional. For example, that could include an ear, nose, and throat doctor. But I think it's more likely that the physiotherapist would be a good alternative. Okay. While I wait for some other questions to come in, and we'll get to some other questions from Vava keeps coming in with the questions. But before we go on, I'm going to tell you what my answer, which I had to really think about, was to the duet question, which I created. Well, go figure. Because when I put it up, I went, actually, that's really hard. What would I say? So I'm going to talk you through a little bit, which will hopefully give you some insights into how I answer this question. One of the things that I loved, particularly as a young person, I loved about singing was singing harmony with, and most of my experiences have been singing harmony with other females, with female singers, because male voice, typically you would sing duet with a female, but my coloring of my voice, more often than not, is really complemented by a low mezzo or mezzo voice, not a soprano, because then you got these two really bright, pingy voices together. And so when I toured my first year out of high school, I toured with a group called Travelers, and we toured up and down the eastern seaboard. We did, I don't know, close to 400 shows or something in 10 months. And there was a number of singers in that group. I was one of them. And a singer that I used to, we didn't do a lot of performance harmony work, as in we would often, she would often, as a group, as a part of the vocal group, be backing me, and I would be a part of the. But we would stand around during, between setting up and doing a show, or after a bump out, or during rehearsals. Amanda Butler, and Amanda, you will never have reason to watch this, but Amanda and I would sit around. I still remember sitting around and just singing harmony with Amanda. And it was a thrilling experience. I personally found it wonderful. And then I thought, well, actually, in remembering Amanda, then I after that period in my life, I then spent a lot of time singing with who is my wife's, Jodie's best friend. Her name is Rachel. We just call her Rachie. And actually, I've known Rachie longer than my wife has known Rachie. And Rachie and I used to sing a lot together at church. And I used to love singing with Rachel. Because... And all of these women I'm referring to, except for the next one, have this beautiful, rich tone that I just loved, connecting with and blending with. And we were all, I always felt like the sum of the two were greater than the sum of the single. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's always felt like our voices weren't 1 + 1 = 2. I always felt like our voices were 1 + 1 = 3. And that, it just, I loved singing with Rachel. Then I had a duo partner with the most amazing singer. Her name is Renee Suddy. She still sings live, performs all over the place here in the southeast Queensland. She is off the charts amazing. And Renee and I had a duo partner, a corporate duo thing called Fever Pitch. And there were moments where Renee and I would be singing together, and we would sing stuff like from Moulin Rouge, and because we had a Moulin Rouge show, but we were all, the whole show, the whole thing we did were duets. And there were times where we would look at each other and we would have lost our own voice in the sonic combination of the two voices. And it's a very thrilling yet very scary experience when you're standing in front of 1,000 people singing, to suddenly, where has my voice gone? I know I'm singing. And I'd catch Renee's eye, and she'd be looking at me, and I'd know she's lost her. And these were often very, momentary things, but so exciting. And one of the joys of singing with Renee is just the level of her musicianship was just so exciting to sing with. And I miss singing with all of these ladies for different reasons. And then I finally arrived in thinking about the fact, the colors, the combinations of voices that Amanda, Rachie, Renee have all given. I must admit, I then thought to myself, well, okay, then who out of that sort of famous voice sort of sound would you? And there was two singers that I came up with. One has passed. I think you're not going to be surprised by this, because I've shared many, many, many times about how I love her, Karen Carpenter. There would, oh gee, it would just be such a thrill to sing with her, because of the warmth. And I know how much that tone would supplement and complement my voice. Not to put myself on the same stage, same level, but we're imagining here, we're having a bit of fun. Then the other singer is a singer who I've been reviewing quite a bit on the channel here, doing a lot of reaction videos to, and it's a voice that I just love, and that is Gigi Delana. I just think she is the bomb. There's just so much to love about her, the quality of her tone, and I think it would just be such a thing to have the opportunity to do. So I know I haven't given you just one, have I? I've just listed 5, but that's, I wanted to give you the how did I get to where I got, and it's because of the experience. If you've had the opportunity to sing duets and sing in harmony, there's something special. And I've sung with a lot of people over the years. I've sung with a lot of people, and I've sung with some really outstanding singers. I've sung with Kate Miller-Heidke. These are Australian singers. I've sung with Katie Noonan. I've sung with, I'll stop there. A lot of people, all brilliant singers. And they are all amazing in their own right. But there's something when you find a voice that your voice just really knits in with. It's so exciting. There's kind of not anything else quite like it. It's a bit like finding a great accompanist. Whether they are accompanying you on guitar or keys. I get excited, don't I? I get excited. Oh, dearie me. Rebecca, I've just seen Rebecca's comment saying she knew that I was going to say that one. I think you're referring to the Karen Carpenter, right? Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's no surprise. No surprise. Okay, let's come down to, we've got a question here from Mr. Fomiardi, I think. I've just got to come back down here and turn that off, though. Mr. Fomiardi, you've got yourself a question. Here we go. Incidentally, if you haven't put up your, who would you do a duet with, put it in there. Mr. Fomiardi, should I try and make my ears pop by holding my nose and blowing before I warm up? It's funny, just as you said that, I suddenly realized maybe I need to equalize my ears out a little bit more. You can, if you do, what you're doing is opening your eustachian tube, which runs into the middle of your middle ear, which is what helps to equalize the pressure. That can help with your sense of hearing and the way you're hearing. I don't think it's something that you absolutely must do every time, unless you kind of feel like you need to do it, because all you're doing there is equalizing pressure, and that can have an impact on how you're hearing, but it may not necessarily be something you've got to kind of must do every time, Mr. Fomiardi. Rodrigo's got a question here. And we're coming towards the end of the show, everyone. Is reaching top tier level singing possible if started singing in my 30s? Yes. I can't see why not. It all depends on what you mean by top tier. it all depends on what where that sees you singing. Interestingly, there are a lot of scenarios classically where singers are not provided the opportunity to sing any main roles until they're in their 30s. Now, typically acknowledging that those singers will have been often training, through their teens and into their 20s, but the voice is not fully mature until your late 20s, early 30s, Rodrigo. So I certainly wouldn't see it as a case of, your ship has sailed. And it won't surprise you to hear me say, it's never too late to start loving your singing. Far too many of when I start with a new student, far too many times they're walking in their 40s and going, it's taken me 30 years to get here. And I think that's exciting. I think that's, because, okay, well, it might have taken you 30 odd years to get here, but you're here now, let's go for it. But equally, start, no matter how old you are, start, enjoy it. Enjoy the process more than the product. The product will take care of itself if you take care of the process. And so, engaging in something like the Voice Essentials program that we have here online, which many of the people that we've seen in the chat today have all participated in and gotten value out of. That's something that I'd be encouraging you to dive in and have a look at. I'm going to give Vava one more question, and then we're going to call it a day. I'm going to come back to this question. Hi, Dr. Dan. I hope you're not causing you just come asking me too many questions. Not at all, Bob. That's why we do the show, right? And you just happen to get lucky where you've been able to get a lot of questions up. My question is, apparently what you eat can help your voice. Some say drinking water, others say Pringles. Yes, I haven't seen specifically the Pringles one, but I've seen the suggestion of potato chips. I've seen that one. Look, everyone is an individual. Our morphologies, our biology are all different. And we have to be very careful about giving very specific instruction around what one should or shouldn't eat to the benefit or detriment of their voice. What we can say is you absolutely need to have good systemic hydration. That is, typically we're encouraging 2 to 3 liters of water. We sip 2 to 3 liters of water throughout the day. That's around about 8 to 10 glasses of water. Some bodies, by virtue of what they do for a job, whether it's physical labor, pregnant women, they might need more. If you work out a lot, you might need more than that. And some bodies, when I say some bodies, as in a body, a human body, some bodies need less. But you want to go looking for really lifting that systemic hydration. So that is the general rule. You can also supplement that 2 to 3 liters of H2O, water, unadulterated water. You can supplement that with fruits and vegetables that are high in water content. Things like watermelon and grapes and oranges and these sorts of fruits and vegetables. Lettuce is high in water content. And so these are all beneficial for most people. Again, accounting for dietary needs being rather normal. Then when we start getting into the discussion around certainly the notion of potato chips being beneficial. The explanation that I saw someone provide online was that the oil in the potato chips can help sort of coat the throat. We have to remember that nothing that you swallow touches your vocal folds. Nothing. If it did, you would choke or drown, either of which are not something we want to be doing. And you would go into a violent cough, and that's not going to be any good. So any sensory benefit you get from anything you swallow, so in the immediate moment of swallowing, is felt through the pharynx and down into the back of the throat, down into the esophagus, not the larynx. So that any oil coating is sensory. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's not something that I would be given to doing, just in part because eating potato chips all the time, a moment on the hips, a moment on the lips, a lifetime on the hips. You don't want, that's not, I personally wouldn't see that as a healthy choice. And so I would be probably avoiding that one. And if your systemic hydration is adequate, you'll be getting the right levels of lubrication through your bloodstream. You don't have to be so involved in trying to, oil things up. And then we supplement the systemic hydration with I'll bring it down here so you can see the steam, with your superficial hydration, which is through a nebulizer like that one, or a vapor inhaler. So these are all the things you do. There are a lot of wives' tales out there, Vava, and we do have to be very careful and think through, critically analyze some of these suggestions to go, because on the surface of it, often these things have a ring of truth to them, don't they? Oil, it'll be all nice and lubricated, but is that actually what's going to take place? And unlikely. I hope that's helpful. I've just seen a comment there by Patricia Collins who said, I had a banana at least 1 hour before a gig. I think a banana is great. If you like bananas, I don't like bananas. I know for those of you who love bananas, and can I tell you, I wish I actually liked bananas, and I'll tell you why. Because, Patricia, bananas are just jam-packed of low GI energy. Like they're so good, and they are a great fruit to have prior to a gig. I endorse that approach, Patricia. It's just that I don't like them. Me personally, I don't like the taste of them. I think it's a texture thing. I really do. I just can't do them. Sorry. But they are, for those of you who can, excellent recommendation from Patricia. We're going to call it a day, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed today's live hangout, and it's so good to hang out with you all, and I hope you enjoyed today's fun question. I don't think you can. Does it end Q&A? Do I end Q&A? I don't know whether you. I'm trying something here because it's the first time I've ever done. Confirm. I've just ended the Q&A. It doesn't do anything. Okay. I guess the benefit is you just all see it and you answer it. I hope you've had a good time today. Please make sure you are ready to go for next week. Tracey, you are going to be so encouraged by her story. She's such an encouraging woman, such a fantastic singing teacher, and her story, is just one of encouragement. And I think you're going to love hearing from her. Enjoy the rest of for those of you who are going to get into Monday in a few hours, enjoy World Traffic Lights Day. I don't know why we mentioned it, but there you go. Oh, I just saw Singwise there. Hello, Karen. Good to see you. And Sharon, I've seen Sharon. I've seen Neve. Oh, I've seen you all. I hope you've all had a good hangout. Hit the thumbs up button. And please, we'll see you again next week. I'm Dr. Dan. Sing well.